So I think at this point in my YouTube career, I've officially turned into the indie game guy. And while I love talking about my favorite indie games and sharing new ones that I find interesting, it got me thinking, what are other YouTubers' favorite indie games? So I went ahead and asked a few YouTubers that I know of what their favorite indie games were. And well, I think rather than me talking about their games, I'd rather let them do it. So take it away, Strike.
Hi, I'm Strike, and like many other people, I played a lot of indie games in my time. I played Ultra Kill, Neon White, Buckshot Roulette, and many others that I would love to say, but due to time restraints, I can't. So sorry, Pokaie. But none hit me as hard as Celeste. Celeste is about a girl, Madeline, climbing up a mountain. Very simple premise, but it goes so much deeper than that. This game deals with the topics of built-up inner turmoil and understanding who you are. My experience with Celeste came years upon years ago. During 2020, it was peak lockdown and I was scrolling through games on the Switch, and then I saw Celeste on sale. I was curious and I bought it and I played it. At first, it was really awesome. It was a platformer with wall climbing, dashes, unique text, and extremely fun level design. I can't lie, it itched every single scratch in my brain, and I loved it so goddamn much. But I didn't understand it. Celeste is not just gameplay, but it's another story as well. But it was then, during 2023, I was at the second year of college. This is my final year, and during 2020 and 2023, that was 3 years of just concern, uncertainty, and just a lot of bad stuff. I did not know where I was going in life, but it also meant that I was in a better state to play Celeste, if you get what I mean. I was just in an understanding mood. Out of nostalgia, I just booted up Celeste for a fresh run on my Switch because I just needed something to do, and I remembered how fun Celeste was. It was a really fun time, and I just played. What followed over the next week was full immersion. All the strawberries, all the secrets, all the dialogue options, and all of the crystals. I played it all. And most importantly, above all else, rather than just playing it, I understood it. Madeline's character arc resonated with me that entire second playthrough. I understood her for not fitting in with the world and wanting an escape. I understood Madeline having conflicts with herself, her other self, Madeline. Even now to this day, I will admit, I still talk to myself as if I have another evil twin in my brain. Celeste was that influential on me. Like, I started acting like I had another being in my head. It was, trust me, it's for a good reason. It's for a good reason. But as much as I understood the story, and more importantly, as much as I loved the story, I don't think a moment in the game comes close to the feather cutscene. Words cannot describe how much this part means to me, but I'm going to try my best anyway, so please bear with me. This was a moment in my life where I had no idea where to go with myself, and more often than not, I would just be panicking all the time. Not like outright breathing sporadically. Well, no, that is what a panic attack is. Yeah, no, I would just be having panic attacks and just stressing like all the time. I swear, like, I had so many gray hairs on top of my head at one point in my life. It was ridiculous. Yeah, no, I just panicked a lot, and I had no idea how to deal with that. Like, during that time in the second year of college, I only had college friends, but they weren't friends I would see outside of college, and I just know my parents wouldn't have helped me out with it. So like, I just felt alone. I didn't understand anything. I didn't know what to do with myself. I just panicked. And then the feather scene came in, and that part fixed me. Not just me understanding it, that part fixed me. Basically, what the feather cutscene was, Madeline and Theo got on a trolley up the mountain, but Madeline, being the knockoff fucking raven that she is, decides to fuck with them and just paws the trolley, and Madeline begins to have a panic attack, and only Theo is there to help. And like the absolute Seattle Chad that he is, he manages to do help with one simple trick that his grandfather taught him. The feather. Just imagine. Close your eyes. Imagine a feather in front of you. It's falling slowly, but you don't want it to fall down into the void. You breathe out, you keep the feather afloat with your breath. It comes back down, So breathe in, breathe out to keep the feather afloat. You just repeat that multiple times. And that part was so simple yet effective. It showcased perfectly what I was feeling in the inside. And I just couldn't believe it. Obviously, it was exaggerated. There wasn't really like any tentacles growing around me or any of that like cartoony evil bollocks around me, but it felt like it. And that's what's the most important part. It's that Celeste not only captures what like a person might accurately feel during a panic attack, they showcased a visual representation on how to just relax or breathe out of it. Now sure, it's very simple, and I get like not a lot of people is going to understand it, but for me, that was just everything to me back then. That was just everything. And because of that moment, I managed to fix myself. I don't have panic attacks anymore, and most of all, I practice my breathing almost every day, and it helped me out because I did swimming at that time, so those breathing exercises helped me in more ways than one. Overall, Celeste wasn't just a fun game for me, it was a life-changing game, and I am forever grateful. Although, I don't have Celeste installed on my PC nor my Switch anymore, but I always have the opportunity to just play through it again if I really want to. And it's okay that I don't need it downloaded, because it's a game that made me reevaluate my life for the better, and I don't think that is going to disappear from my head anytime soon. And besides, I look at this game basically every single day when I turn on my computer, and she is just there. So yeah, that's my favorite indie game of all time. On to the next person.
What's up, my splat bros and hoes? Hope everyone's doing well. My name is HoneyOni, and I'm a trans woman who streams on Twitch.
Chat's about to fucking blow your brains out with a shotgun.
Does low poly 3D modeling, 2D art, and makes videos on my YouTube channel. Come check me out if you want. Pokaie asked me to talk for a little bit about my favorite indie game of all time, a game I never hear people talk about outside of my inner circle of friends. It's a game called Crosscode. Developed by German indie company Radical Fish Games and published by Deck 13, Crosscode is a pseudo MMO ARPG harkening back to old retro adventure games like The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past or the Secret of Mana games. Secret of Mana? I don't know, I don't care. While taking ideas and framework from those games, it embellished its design with more modern ideas, and while it might tread some similar ground, I can't help but notice how much they've improved it. It doesn't quite play exactly like those games, instead somehow manages to rework and clean up most of the retro concepts involved. Its puzzles are challenging but fun. Its boss fights are dynamic and fast-paced, and the characters, oh my god, the character writing in this game sends me into a fucking frenzy. The main character, Leia, while seeming more like just another silent protagonist in concept, ends up being one of the more fleshed out, real-feeling characters by the end of the game. To briefly explain the premise of the game so the rest of this makes sense, Leia is someone who went into a coma and lost her memories in the real world, and she logs into an SAO-esque full-dive VR MMO. Her language module ends up not working the way that it should, and your helper admin guy, Sergey, begins the arduous process of manually coding in specific words that Leia can use to talk like a cave woman at people to get her point across. Even with the linguistic barrier, Leia's expressions and the way that the team wrote the responses both come together to make it really clear what her personality actually is and how she feels about major events that take place later in the story. It ends up feeling like more of a social impediment allegory than a real attempt at making a silent protagonist, but maybe I'm reading too heavily into it. While the main character is obviously the focus, I also get incredibly attached to Emily, Leah's main secondary party member. Emily is a fiery French girl who grew up on a farm and is currently going through university. You meet her at the beginning of the game and she quickly makes an impression. Turning the first tutorial dungeon into a race between you and her, you don't really gain or lose anything depending on how well you do in the race, but you do get different dialogue and some more of Leia's perfect smug faces. Aside from the characters and puzzles, there's mostly just plot and combat left, but since I'm trying to convince you to pick this game up and give it a try, and I'm not trying to turn this segment of the video into a 2-hour-long gush fest of everything I love about one of my favorite games of all time, let's just skip the plot, since I expect you're gonna pick up the game now and try it yourself, right? Right? Not convinced yet? That's alright, because I'm not done. The way it feels to control Leia when you start really getting into the groove of things is so good. Leia spins to quickly dodge out of the way, having 3 charges to get it right before having to wait a quick second for them to recharge. You have quick melee attacks, a charge system for your projectiles, and ultimate abilities galore. Turning out waves of enemies with finesse and grace, hitting that S rank is just... Oh shit, I creamed my pants. Hey, sorry, I have to clean this up. Can you take it from here, Pokaie? Thanks.
Okay, so me personally, if you were to ask me what my favorite indie game is, I'd say it'd have to be Hollow Knight. It's an incredible Metroidvania developed by Team Cherry, where you take control of a knight, exploring, freeing, and slaying foes in the land of Hollow Nest. And while your moves at the start of the game are very basic, with your character only being able to jump, slash, and heal, over the course of the game you slowly unlock new abilities like the ability to wall jump, dash, and double jump. And not to mention that there are a handful of spells you can not only unlock, but upgrade as well. That will definitely come in handy during your playthrough. Oh, and before I forget, there's also charms you can find throughout Hollow Nest that grant you special augmentations like the ability to heal faster, fart, and spawn children. But aside from just the mechanical side of this game, Hollow Knight also boasts some of the most memorable, unique, and fun boss fights I've ever played. And while yeah, some bosses are certainly more challenging than others, the fact that Team Cherry was able to craft 47 unique bosses with a large amount of them having their own soundtrack that only serves to make the fight more epic is incredible. And I suppose that's something I should touch on too, the soundtrack. To make this part of my rant short and sweet, Hollow Knight has one of the best game OSTs I've ever listened to. But honestly, Hollow Knight is an 11 out of 10 game that I recommend you play at least once in your life. And while yeah, the game itself is certainly not for everyone, if you're someone that enjoys titles like Metroid Dread, or In the Will of the Wisps, and Blue Fire, then Hollow Knight is a must play. But with all that said, I think that actually just about wraps up this video. Now, of course, I gotta give a huge thanks to both HoneyOni and Strike for being part of this video, as they were a gigantic help in making this video a reality. Links to their respective channels and games will be linked down in the description for anyone interested. So feel free to subscribe and check out some of their videos if you enjoyed seeing them in this one. But as usual, feel free to do the generic YouTuber stuff of liking and subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!